Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, a PNM patriot from the upper class, he appears to be from the upper class, posted a video which explains the opposition's reasons for opposing the Stand Your Ground law and appears to believe that his argument is actually credible and logical. The following are a few of his concerns, along with my responses one time. The government is making it easier for citizens to acquire firearms. So what? In his opinion, that will lead to an increase in violence. That is fake news, people. As much as that's a common narrative pushed by radical leftist Democrats in the USA, it doesn't actually make sense whatsoever in reality, people. Anyone who intends to commit an act of violence will do so by using any type of weapon available. It's therefore very clear that most of us in society will barely ever resort to using extreme forms of violence in spite of owning cutlasses, knives, and other dangerous items in our homes. I've even heard it on certain talk shows over the internet and on TV, where people say, even Americans say, that even though they own guns, they don't ever really actually want to use it unless it's, of course, it's for hunting. They dread the idea of even having to defend themselves. There's a whole lot of people in this world still value human life, although we are living in very evil times. But getting back to the post that I made there, I said it's therefore very clear that most of us in society will barely ever resort to using extreme forms of violence in spite of owning cutlasses, knives, and other dangerous items in our homes. Owning a firearm won't transform us people into cowboys in the wild, wild west. He also raised the issue about gated communities, as though that's something negative, and also appeared to imply that having the right to stand your ground in those communities could result in bloodshed during disputes, as though people will just have to kill each other within the gated communities. The fear-mongering, I'm telling you, trying to play with the minds of their tribal, extremely small base. The reality remains that no one has the right to invade your property, even if they're also members of the same gated community, people. If they are armed and attempting to attack you and your family, you should have all rights to empty the clip. Excessive force was also one of the patriots' concerns, but let's use a bit of common sense when addressing this issue as well. Listen, people, if you continue to shoot a bandit multiple times, even after he has already been neutralized, then that will be considered an overkill. That scenario is very unlikely in most cases, unless, of course, the homeowner is a psychopath, already a murderer, or the injured or deceased criminal is a zombie who simply won't die. In conclusion, people, my advice to all PNM criminal defenders out there is this. Tell your buddies to stay out of law-abiding citizens' homes. No more overheating phones. Cool your phones in seconds. Prevents damage to phones and battery issues. Better gaming experience and streaming. USB powered and fast charging. Lightweight and quiet. Ideal for kids and adults. Works with all smartphones. Makes a great gift. Call or WhatsApp 868-762-6589. The Home Invasion, Self-Defense and Defense of Property Bill 2025, commonly referred to as the Stand Your Ground legislation, was passed, thankfully, in the Senate on Friday night without amendments. My response: the well-protected Syrian elites and their shameless mainstream media house servants will be extremely furious that the rest of we, the people, now have the right to eliminate any criminal who invades our home. It's beyond disgusting to see the PNM minions sympathizing with bandits, kidnappers, and violating predators. I use violating predators, but it's really the R word, but I am avoiding the algorithms. You figure it out what I mean by the R word, okay? Why the heck are they worried about the use of excessive force? If they don't want to end up in a body bag, stay out of people's homes. And let me just make this clear again, as I've said over and over, that this is not just about a UNC thing. This is a Trinidadian thing. Everyone has the rights to bear arms as long as you are a law-abiding citizen, and everyone has the rights to stand their ground. You could be a PNM, you could be a UNC, you could be an independent, you could be a PDP, whomever you are. You may not, as I said, an independent, you may not vote for any political party. You have the rights because the vast majority, I've said it over and over again, the vast majority of even PNM voters are law-abiding citizens. They exist in the middle class, even in the upper class, and definitely in the working class. Humble, normal people, they just for some reason decide they want to continue following tribalism and vote for PNM, but they are still law-abiding citizens. And therefore, they themselves also have the rights to bear arms and to protect them, their families and their property. And therefore, they should realize and wake up one of these days and see that the PNM party itself does not care about their own safety. Premium touchscreen wireless headsets restocked. 1.9-inch HD full-color touchscreen. ANC and ENC noise reduction for crystal clear calls. 9D panoramic sound. Long battery life and fast charging. Control music, videos, TikTok, YouTube, and much more. Camera feature, voice assistant, timer, stopwatch, and lyrics on screen. Water resistant, sleek design. Available in gold, black, blue, and purple. Gift ready packaging with replacement earbuds included. Never lose your earbuds again with the Find Headphones feature that actually works. Don't miss out. WhatsApp 762-6589 to place your order. Limited stock available. Opposition leader Penelope Beckles says the continued attack by the Prime Minister against the PNM is making her seriously consider her legal options. My response, boldface is the PNM. The Syrian house servant crew have accused UNC of every crime possible in TNT, and they have actually named names, including our Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar. And I went on to say, including the murdering of a famous lawyer. And we all know which lawyer I'm talking about there, right? I don't have to mention the name. And yet now they have the audacity to threaten legal action against the Prime Minister. This is the nonsense that mainstream media encourages. The PNM has been a thorn in the side of TNT from its inception in the 1950s. They are the Thanos, or the destroyers of TNT. That's why I call Emperor Thanos Rowley, call him Emperor Thanos Rowley, you know. Destroyer. One of the destroyers of Trinidad and Tobago, and he considered himself an emperor. Tired of losing your keys, phone, or coins in that annoying gap between your car seat and the console? We've got the perfect solution. Our universal car seat gap fillers are back in stock, ready to save your stuff and make your ride clutter-free. Available in black, brown, beige, and red, they're designed to fit any car seat and blend perfectly with your interior. Simply WhatsApp 762-6589 to place your order and enjoy delivery straight to your door in just 1 to 3 days. This woman is always being featured by mainstream media, especially I think it's CNC3 or the Express, I'm not sure. Sunita Maharaj. She says the only sensible option for the people of TNT and the rest of the region is to speak with one voice and urging the US to turn around and go home. In other words, what is she saying? She wants to end the war against drug trafficking. She does not care. Does she care? I'm asking. I'm not saying that. I'm not putting words in her mouth. I'm just asking this woman, Sunita Maharaj, do you care about the drug and human trafficking crisis that we have in the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago as well in particular? Do you? My response online, we should unite to condemn dictators like Maduro who hold on to power and persecutes anyone who opposes him. Do you support Maduro's attempts to annex Guyana's Essequibo region? Sunita Maharaj, can you answer that question for me? Do you support his attempts to annex half of Guyana, probably even more than half of Guyana. This is what tribalism causes. The house servants of the Syrian elites really think that using an Indo-political analyst, because she appears to be Indian or probably mixed, the Douglas, I don't know. But nevertheless, they're posting her a lot more than anybody else because they're trying. I know that. Other people may not recognize it, but I'm telling you that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to show that, you know, it have East Indian people that are against what is taking place. I know that already. There are even East Indian UNC people that don't understand why there's a need for the war against human and drug trafficking in the Caribbean. But I know the reason why mainstream media is using this woman in particular is because they're trying to use her to appeal to the UNC supporters. But getting back to what I said, the house servants of the Syrian elites really think that using an Indo-political analyst would persuade Trinis to turn against USA and Kamala Persad-Bissessar, our Prime Minister. You still don't get it, do you? Most of us don't give a crap about race. We want secured borders and an end to the drug and human trafficking crisis in Trinidad and Tobago. Frequently featuring this political activist proves how shallow and tribal PNM communists are. Desperate as well. You won't be disappointed with this one. Look and feel great every day. Painless trimming with no pulling of hair guaranteed. Comfortable to hold and lightweight. Intelligent anti-pinch system. Safety travel lock. Accurate and painless trimming. Durability 100% quality. Fast charging. To place an order, call or WhatsApp 868-762-6589. Regional news now. A person drove a vehicle into a crowd during Christmas event preparations in St. Anne in the French overseas region of Guadeloupe on Friday, leaving at least 19 victims injured. The driver of the vehicle, according to local media reports, was under the influence of alcohol and drugs and was arrested following the crash. What was the motive? Maybe he was really just drunk and wasn't really aware of what he was doing. I highly doubt. A lot of the times, even though you're drunk, you're still aware to an extent of what you're doing. So he had that evil thoughts in his mind. And it goes back to, once again, you do not need a firearm to commit mass murder or injuries. You see, you can use a vehicle as well. What are you going to do? Ban people from having vehicles as well? I'm telling you, the radical left and their arguments are not logical in any shape or form. News from Guyana now. The extradition case against embattled businessman Nazar Mohammed and his son Azzuddin Mohammed resumed Monday before Principal Magistrate Judy Lachman at the Georgetown Magistrates Courts, with oral arguments on the constitutional challenge on the way. With disclosure completed, defense lawyers are expected to press their challenge to the 2009 amendments to the Fugitive Offenders Act. Magistrate Lachman will deliver her ruling on December 10th, determining whether the matter moves to the higher court or continues before her. This man, once again, and he's a member of parliament at this point in time, people decided to actually vote for a man that was accused of very serious crimes of fraud and so forth. And yet this is what some people, not a large population in Guyana, but some people in Guyana decided to choose over the Irfan Ali party, the PPP Civic. It's sad to see that. It's sad to see that. Let's just see where this case goes, and I shall continue to report about it. News from Jamaica now. The Inspectorate and Professional Standards Oversight Bureau had the Independent Commission of Investigations and the Independent Commission of Investigations have launched an investigation into the death of an inmate while in custody at a police station in St. Mary. Police again. The deceased has been identified as 34-year-old Eraldo Francis, otherwise called Nagram, a building contractor of Tremolesworth Highgate in the parish. Police, I'm telling you, maybe, just maybe, it should have been that case already. It should have security cameras throughout these cells and in the police stations, and as well, police officers should also be mandated to wear body cams even while in the police station, not while they're all only on duty outside. So this sounds like another case of what? Extrajudicial killings, something that is quite common here in Trinidad and Tobago as well. And sadly, one of the flaws of the Kamala Persad administration, they don't seem to be concerned about the corruption within the police service. Savannah, Lamar's stormed, ravaged market has once again become the center of public frustration and political attention as residents and vendors plead for urgent repairs and clarity on its future. The facility, badly damaged during Hurricane Melissa, has pushed many vendors onto the streets, intensified congestion downtown, and reignited a long-standing debate about whether the market should be repaired or relocated. What I hope and pray is that the politicians wouldn't encourage the police to remove these vendors at a time when they don't have the market available to be used safely. A lot of the times the markets, if you relocate them in the first place, they end up in areas which you don't really have a lot of people passing by, and reduces the amount of sales that is generated by these vendors in the first place. You have to take all that into consideration. It happens even right here in Sangre Grande. It happens here in Sangre Grande as well. But that's a whole different discussion, and I covered it a time before. I don't believe in these types of extreme vending laws. You cannot be obstructing the entire pavement. But if someone is basically at the side of a building and has been given permission by the owner of that building, police shouldn't be getting involved into that. Don't be vending on the road either. So those are the different things. But at the end of the day, the police and even the regional corporations, they abuse the authority, and they don't really care about the vendors in the respective countries throughout the Caribbean, and here in Trinidad and Tobago especially. I don't really know much about the other Caribbean islands. International news now. A Somalian migrant, Mohammed, get that name now, boy, racked up. How you got same first name and last name? But anyhow, says Somalian migrant Mohammed racked up dozens of charges since 2015. People, you're talking about a decade. Almost every charge was dismissed and he was released each time. Recently, he was out on the streets again, and this time he violated a woman. He arred a woman to death outside a church in Nashville. I'm telling you, we live in a world where the system fails a lot of the times, and it fails even more in socialist, far-left, radical, woke cities and states in the United States of America. A lot of the times, there are much stricter laws when it pertains to crime in Republican conservative states. I wouldn't be surprised if that particular area is controlled by Democrats. Maybe, maybe not. I didn't research to see. And if it was under Republican leadership, then that is really sad. It is sad to see the system failing, because repeated offenders should not end up being put back out on the streets. I've said this over and over again, especially when it's violent offenders, people that have committed very extreme acts of violence and using especially a deadly weapon should face 10 to 20 years in prison. And in some cases, even life in prison.
The Lebanese hate it when I say this, but it's a totally failed state. It has $180 billion of debt, more or less. It has a central bank with a very good central banker who's struggling to try and get efficacy, but it doesn't work. You have a correspondent banking system that doesn't operate. It operates with Huawei's and Wish and PayPal and Western Union of a corrupt environment that had to be corrupt to survive. Not that the leaders are corrupt. You now have a new president, a new prime minister, and an existing legacy speaker who I think are all at the point of saying, we want this over. We don't want another civil war.
Closing off now with the interesting facts segment. After decades of intensive conservation efforts, giant pandas are no longer classified as an endangered species. That is wonderful news. Thanks to large-scale habitat protection, breeding programs, and strict anti-poaching laws, their population in the wild has steadily increased. This success is considered one of the greatest wildlife conservation achievements in modern history and shows that focused human effort can truly reverse the damage done to nature. Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe, most of all. In Jesus' name.